first moved into the old Victorian house, I absolutely loved it. It was the house of my dreams. The style of the house was something that I only read about in books. One of the selling points of the house was that it came with antique furniture to complete the look. The furniture was the plus, but the old piano is what really sealed the deal for me. I've always wanted one. It even had sheet music stationed on top, ready to be played. When it was all said and done, I was excited because I never thought that I would become the owner of such a lovely structure. But I didn't expect things to get so strange, so fast. On the very first night, I was awakened by the sound of the piano being played. Soon as I sat up in bed, as if on cue, the music stopped. I got out of the bed and went downstairs to where the piano was to find it untouched. Maybe I had imagined the whole thing. After checking the house and making sure everything was secure, I went back to bed. It was rather easy for me to fall back to sleep. However, I wasn't able to sleep long because I was scared out of my sleep. This time, by the sound of loud stomping. It sounded like the marching of soldiers in the hallway. Automatically, I knew that I had a problem. The next morning, when I went downstairs to the kitchen, I was shocked to discover that the kitchen chairs had been moved. I was certain that they were pushed in the night before, but there they were, scattered as if someone had hastily stood up and left. A chill ran down my spine. That was the third incident I wasn't looking forward to anymore. The fourth incident shortly followed. I was lying in my bed reading a book when I began to hear laughter. At first, it was very faint, like a whisper near my ear, but soon it grew to become loud and clear. Once the laughter started, it wouldn't stop. I could hear it echoing through the halls at odd hours of the night. It sounded like a child giggling, followed by deep, hearty chuckles, like a joke was being told, and I wasn't a part of it. I began to think that whatever was there didn't want me to sleep. Things got worse. No matter where I was in the house, if there was an open doorway, I would see people walk past. At times, I could make out what they were wearing, mostly 19th century clothing. Other times, they were moving so fast that it only looked like a shadow, but they would all vanish just as quick as they came. The final straw for me came one night when I was getting ready for bed. I was in the bathroom drying off after a shower. I lifted my eyes to the bathroom mirror, and that's when I saw her, the scariest looking woman I had ever seen. Her hands pressed against the glass, like she was trying to get me. I screamed and stumbled back, and when I looked again, the woman was gone. I looked around the bathroom trying to spot her. I couldn't see her, but I felt her presence all around me. I was scared out of my mind, barely sleeping. I was tired and on edge. When the banging started one night, louder than ever before, I had taken all that I could take from the house and whatever was in it. I packed as much as I could carry that night. I grabbed my phone, keys, and purse and headed to the car. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was praying that whatever was in the house wouldn't follow me. Inside my car, I looked back at the house one last time, and I could see that the same woman that I saw in the mirror was staring back at me from an upstairs window. I knew there was no way that I could return back to the house. It was clear that I wasn't welcome there. I decided to leave and never look back. Some places are just not meant for the living. I knew that we had made a mistake the first time we stepped foot into our house. There wasn't anything in particular that happened. It was just a feeling that I had. The house was old, and as soon as I walked through the door, I could feel the heaviness of the energy. Moving to a new house seemed like a fresh start for my sister Diane and me after losing our parents in a car accident a year prior. But the first night at the house, the tone was set of how life would be there. That night, when I was unpacking in my room, I heard a soft scraping sound coming from upstairs. Immediately, I went and told Diane what I had heard. She was quick to dismiss my concerns, assuring me the old houses creaked all the time. It wasn't a creak that I heard, though. A few nights later, just as I was on the brink of sleep, I felt a strange sensation of rising. I jumped up and saw the horror, my bed hovering several feet above the ground. Panic surged through me, and I struggled to find my voice. But before I could yell for Diane, the bed crashed back down, the impact echoing throughout the house. Diane rushed to my room, seeing a look of fear on my face. She knew that I had experienced something similar to what she had just experienced. Only difference was, she was snatched from my bed and dragged to the floor. She told me that she had screamed for me, but I heard nothing the whole time the incidents were happening, just heavy silence. That night, we sat huddled together in the living room, trying not to mention what had taken place, and too afraid to fall asleep out of fear that whatever happened would happen again. The very next night, I was awakened by the sound of my name being called by an unfamiliar voice. When I opened my eyes, my closet door was open, and though there weren't any lights on, I clearly saw the figure that was standing there. The haunting escalated. A glass vase that was left on the dining room table ended up shattered on the floor without a sound being made. On another evening, as we were sitting in the living room trying to distract ourselves with board games, we both jumped as a large mirror violently detached itself from the wall and smashed into pieces, only missing us by a thin margin. I wish that I could say it was only a physical disturbance. There was also an oppressive feeling in the air, a heaviness that followed us like a shadow. On multiple occasions, I caught glimpses of something moving out the corner of my eye, only to find nothing there when I turned to look. Trying to ignore whatever was there became absolutely impossible. One night, I ignored a cup that was thrown from a counter. I just simply walked out of the kitchen and went to the bathroom to take a shower. When I came out of the bathroom, I was chased to my bedroom by something invisible. The pounding that chased behind me was so loud. The chase only stopped when my fear was apparent. Seeing no end in sight, Diane and I reached out to Keith. He was a friend of Diane's that dealt with the paranormal. When Keith arrived, his expression turned serious the moment he stepped inside the house. He could feel it too. Something dark was tied to the house. Keith suggested that we should confront whatever was haunting us. He said that we needed to cleanse the house. As night fell, we lit candles and formed a circle in the living room. Keith's voice was steady as he called for peace, for the spirits to move on. You could feel the tension in the air. Even though Keith said not to break the circle, all I wanted to do was run. The more Keith called out to the spirits, I believe the angrier they grew. The walls began to vibrate, and the fixtures began to shake violently. Pictures fell from the walls. In the kitchen, cabinets swung open and dishes and canned goods were tossed to the floor. A cold breeze swept through the house, and I watched as a shadowy figure crept along the walls before vanishing. I had never been so scared in my life. I held my breath because I wasn't sure if what Keith had done had worked. I waited for the next assault from the spirits to take place. But slowly, a calmness settled over us. The tension in the air felt lighter, as if the house had exhaled a long-held breath. From that night forward, all activities in the house had ceased, and our house actually began to feel like a home. I often find myself thinking about the spirits that haunted us. Why were they there in the first place? What had them clinging to the house instead of moving on? Though I may never know their story, I hope they find peace, just as Diane and I have. Regardless, I'm certain there's more to this world than we understand, and our house was proof of that.